Hello, my name is Alex, and I am with the IT team here at Mesa College. This tutorial is on backing up your work and personal data files in a Windows XP environment. In this tutorial, we'll be using both the left mouse button and the right mouse button. The purpose of the left mouse button is for clicking or selecting files, and the purpose of the right mouse button is for opening menus related to the items selected. In the tutorial, you'll be hearing left click or right click, left click or right click. When you hear click or double click, use the left mouse button for that action. In the tutorial, the icons on my desktop have been placed in their locations for instructional purposes only. Your desktop will most likely look different, but the basic instructions should apply. Okay, let's get started. So the very first thing that we need to do is decide what data needs to be backed up between work and personal data files. Okay, so as you can see on my desktop, I've got all kinds of stuff. I've got Word documents, I've got Excel documents, I've got PowerPoint documents, I've got folders, I've got links. So I've got a lot of stuff. And so what I need to do is I need to go through these files and decide what's considered work and what's considered personal. Another location that I need to look at besides my desktop is the My Documents folder. And to get there, I'm going to go to the top left-hand corner of my desktop, and I'm going to double click on the My Documents shortcut. Now, notice that I have personal documents, work documents, I have download folders, my music folders, my pictures, my videos, and so forth. And so I'm going to minimize this so when it comes down to organizing my documents, I'll know exactly where to get them and where to find them. So to minimize, I'm going to go to the minimize button on the top right hand corner of that window, and I'm going to left click on minimize. So now that the My Documents window is minimized, I can now start working on my desktop. You will most likely have files and folders in other locations, but for instructional purposes only, we'll work with what we have here. And so if you want to take a few minutes and go through your files and start preparing, and once you are ready, come back and we'll continue. But if you think you're ready, let's move on. Otherwise, pause the video now. In this section of the tutorial, we'll be organizing our data files. Now that we know where our data files and folders are, let's start separating them. The way we'll do that is by grouping all work-related files into one location. And to help us with this process, we need to create a work folder on the desktop. To create a folder on my desktop, I'm going to look for an open space. So in my case, I can see that the right side of my desktop is clear. So I'm going to move my mouse over to that space, and then I'm going to right click. And as you can see, there's a drop down menu. I'm going to move my mouse over to where it says New. Then there's another drop down menu. I'm going to move my mouse over to where it says Folder. As you can see, Folder becomes highlighted. Once it becomes highlighted, I'm going to left click, and that will create the new folder. Now you can also see that New is highlighted. So at this point, I can just type the word in Work. And once I type in the word Work, then I can just left click anywhere on the desktop, and that'll confirm that my new folder is now called Work. Now that I've created the Work folder, I'm going to open it up by double clicking on it, and I'm going to start moving my work files and folders. So I'm going to go over to my first work file. left click on the file and hold the left mouse button. Notice that the work file becomes highlighted. As I'm holding down the left mouse button, I can now drag that file over to the work folder. Once it's in the work folder, release the left mouse button. Notice that the file has been moved. It is no longer on the desktop. It's not just copied over, but it was moved from the desktop to the work folder. Now, we can do one file at a time, or we can do groups of files at a time. And to do groups of files at a time, we need to place the mouse near the files that we want to group together. Holding down the left mouse button, drag the mouse across the files that you want to put in the group. Notice that all the files become highlighted. At this point, left click and hold the left mouse button on any of the highlighted files. At that point, you can drag the entire group over to the work folder. Once in the work folder, release the left mouse button. Notice that all the files have been moved to the work folder. Now that I know how to move files and folders in groups, this is going to make it much easier and much faster. So I'm going to go through all my work files and folders and move them into this work folder. Okay, so this is what my work folder looks like. As you can see, there are a lot of folders and a lot of files, including all my links. But we're not done yet. Remember earlier, we minimized the My Documents folder. So now what we need to do is we need to go back into that folder and look for any work-related files and folders. And to do that, go down to the taskbar, and then I'm going to mouse over to the My Documents area. I'm going to left-click, and that'll bring up the My Documents folder. Notice that there are 3 documents that are work-related. Same thing as earlier. I'm going to group 3 other work documents and move them over to the work folder. Now, notice that I'm getting a message indicating that the work document 1 already exists. But also notice that the dates of the files are different. So what I need to do is I need to decide which file I want to keep. Once I decide if I would like to replace the existing file with the new file, then I can click on yes. If I decide that no, that's not what I really want to do, I can just click on no. In this case, I'm going to click on yes because I would like to overwrite it. Now let's go over to the work folder and confirm that. And there they are. I have my 3 additional work documents. Okay, so now that I've gone through the My Documents folder and I've moved all of my work-related files to my work folder, it looks like I'm done. So I'll quickly review what I have in my work folder, and it looks like I have everything that I need. So at this point, I'm going to close it by left-clicking on the X at the top right-hand corner, and I'm going to minimize the My Documents folder. I'm going to go over to the right-hand corner, left-click on the Minimize button. So now that I'm done with my work-related files and folders, and they're all grouped into one location, I can move on to my personal files, and folders. At this point, we can move much faster. Since we already know how to create folders on the desktop, I'm going to right-click on the desktop, mouse down to New, over to Folder, left-click. I'm going to call this folder Personal. I'm going to open it up, and then I'm going to start moving my personal files and folders. Now, I'm going to go down to the taskbar, open up the My Documents folder by left-clicking on it, and I'm going to move my personal documents over to my personal folder. I'm going to also look in the downloads of the My Documents folder. I'm going to drag everything over into the personal folder. I'm going to look in the My Music and drag it over. My Pictures. Now that I've copied everything over to my personal folder, this is what it looks like. I'm going to take one last peek, and it looks like everything is in there. So now I'm going to close it out. Close out the My Documents folder, and it looks like I am ready for the next step. Okay, so now that I've moved all of my files, now I only have two folders, one for work-related files and the other for personal-related files. Now earlier, while I was copying all my personal files, it appears that I have 4 Word documents. Now, if you notice, on 3 of those documents, on the bottom left-hand corner, you'll see a little box with an arrow. And what that's telling me is that these aren't the actual files. These are actually links, just like I have the links to Amazon, eBay, and Pandora. And so what I need to do is I need to find where the actual file is at. If I don't do that, then the only thing that I'll be backing up are the links and not the actual files. And the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to put the mouse over one of those links for those documents. Then I'm going to right click on it. On the menu, I'm going to go to the properties, left click, and then it's going to tell me where the file is at. Now, all I really need to do is go down to the Find Target button and left click it, and that'll take me exactly to where that file is located. Now that I know where it's at, I can copy that document over to my personal folder, because now I know for sure that I'm going to be saving the actual file and not just the link. Okay, so now notice that I've found all my actual Word documents and not just the links. So now I know for sure that I'm backing up the actual files. At this point, we have our work and personal data files ready to be transferred. But before we do that, we need to know how much data we have in each of those folders. To figure out how much data is in each of those folders, let's go to the work folder, right click on that, then left click on properties, and now we're looking at the properties of the work folder. Now if you look at the size, as you can see, it says 587 megabytes. Okay, and it's also showing how many files and folders are inside that one folder. Let's go over to the personal, right click, Then left click on properties and let's compare. As you can see on the personal folder is showing that the size is 1.09 gigabytes. Without getting too much into the details, just know that gigabyte is much more than megabytes. Now that we've determined how much data we have in our work and personal folders, we need to decide where to transfer the data to. For our personal data, we can use external USB drives or USB flash drives, and even CD and DVD media, depending on how much data you have to back up. As for the work folder, as part of your logon, you have what's called the H drive and the G drive. This is all part of the network, which is there every time you log on to the work environment. It's highly recommended that you use your H drive and your G drive to back up your work-related files and folders. Now, to locate the drive letters, we are going to go to My Computer, or double click on that, and you should be able to see your H drive and your G drive. The advantage of using the network drives is that they get backed up on a nightly basis. The network drives do have limitations. The H drive has a limitation of 1 gigabyte data storage per user, and the G drive is based on the department requirements. So if your work folder is much bigger than 1 gigabyte, you can call the help desk at 7000 and you can request for your H drive to be expanded. So to copy my work folder into my H drive, I'm just going to double click on H. Then all I'm going to do is left click on the work folder, grab it, and then drag and drop it into the H drive, and that should start copying it over. Let's talk about backing up the personal data folder. If you have decided to use CD or DVD media to back up your personal data, you will need to use Roxio Creator, which is already installed. If you look at my desktop, on the top left-hand corner, you will see an icon for Roxio Creator 9.1xe. If I double-click on that, that will start the program. If for whatever reason you do not have that icon on your desktop, go to the Start menu, left-click, then up to Programs, then over to the right, and look for the Roxio Creator folder. On the right hand side, you will see another menu. Mouse over to the right, then down to the home icon. Left click the home icon. This will also start the Roxio Creator program. Once it's started, mouse over to the left hand side and look for Data. Left click Data. Then move over to the right hand side and look for Data Disk. Left click Data Disk. This will open up a project area. Now we can go over to our personal data folder, left click and hold and drag to the project area. Now we can go over to the bottom right hand corner and left click the red button. If you have not inserted your media, you will get a message telling you to insert a blank or rewritable disk media into the optical drive. So at this point, insert your media. Click on OK. That will start the burning process. Once the burning project has completed, you can close Roxio Creator. You will be asked if you would like to save the current data disk project. Click on No, and that will close Roxio Creator. If you have decided to use a USB flash drive or a USB external drive, insert your device into one of the ports in front of your workstation. You may get a message at the bottom right-hand corner saying that a new USB device has been detected. Give it a few seconds and then go up to the My Computer icon and double click on it. If you notice, I now have a new drive letter. In my case, it's drive letter E. It also says that it's a removable disk. Double click on the new drive letter, and as you can see, that is my flash drive. Now I can go over to my personal data folder, left click, and drag it over to the flash drive. And that will start the copy process. Once the copy process has completed, to safely remove your USB device, go down to the bottom right hand corner and you will find an icon with a green little arrow. It also says safely remove hardware. Double click it and you will get a dialog box. You will notice that the USB mass storage device is selected. Go down to the stop button, left click, and you will get another dialog box. Left click on OK and wait for it to disappear. At this point, you can safely remove your USB device. This concludes the tutorials on data backup in a Windows XP environment. I hope these tutorials were helpful. If something was not made clear, please call the help desk at 7000 for further assistance. Thank you for watching.